Right, one day to go before the final match at the Narendra Modi Stadium here in Ahmedabad. The stadium, let's talk about the stadium just very briefly before we move on to Mark Wood, who's coming up a little bit later, and the prospects. It is an extraordinary achievement. It used to be the Sardar Patel Stadium, as you might know, Harmy. You may did you play at the Sardar Patel?
Yes. Second test in 6, I think it was there.
Well, and they demolished that stadium and built the Narendra Modi Stadium, originally called the Manthorp Stadium. It is phenomenal. It is an extraordinary piece of architecture. Is there a sense of Narendra Modi wanting to put, not himself on the map, although he doesn't mind that, but putting Ahmedabad on the map and making sure that is now, it's the biggest cricket stadium in the world, overtaking the MCG. It's an incredible, I mean, you can put 60,000 in there just in the lower tier, can't you? You don't even have to fill the top tier.
60,000 feels like the stadium is empty. I remember the 2023, the World Cup opener, England, New Zealand, and people were wondering why the seats are empty because it's just so vast. Around 30,000 people showed up that day. And even with 30,000 fills up most cricket grounds across the world.
It did feel empty, didn't it?
And it did feel empty because it's such a huge stadium. 1/3 or 1/4 you filled it up, and people were in the concourse for a majority of the day because of the sun. I remember the 2011 World Cup quarterfinal, India-Australia at the old stadium, the Motera Stadium, as you mentioned, the Sardar Patel Stadium as it was called then, and Yuvraj Singh playing that phenomenal innings to help India win. The stadium was shaking. We were on the 4th floor and it was shaking. Every time the crowd was just going gaga, it was just shaking with the claps and cheering, everything. So they really needed to rebuild that. They needed to pull that down and rebuild it. And when they did it, I think after the 2012 test match over there, they decided that it was going to be the biggest one. They're going to put it on the world cricket map. The plan was always to host the World Cup final in 2023 at that stadium, and they made it happen, didn't they? The entire complex, it's now a proper sporting complex with facilities for different sports, be it tennis, be it athletics, swimming. It's a huge complex with a good clubhouse as well, a lot of beautiful rooms and a great cafeteria and a great swimming pool. I think it's an Olympic-sized swimming pool if I'm not mistaken. So it's a whole sporting complex now, and I think there are 3 cricket grounds. Not just one, there are 3 cricket grounds where you can have practice matches and you can have India A games, etc., etc. And we've had domestic matches there as well. So the entire sporting complex is now the Sardar Patel Sporting Complex. The stadium, the big cricket stadium, is only a part of that sporting complex, and it's after our Honourable Prime Minister now. So obviously he's not the one who named it after himself, the Gujarat Cricket Association did. So yeah, I think it's an immense honour for him. But yes, this stadium brings India on the world cricket map, the largest stadium. I think the final here, the World Cup final, it was 99,000 people if I'm not mistaken.
And the record attendance is actually for a Coldplay concert. Narendra Modi was president of the Gujarat Cricket Association when he commissioned the new stadium.
Yes.
So, Harmy, it's quite a venue for Tom Banton. Just imagine, I mean, he hasn't played a game for England for almost 5 years, and he only arrived in the country 24 hours ago or less. And we're hearing that he could play.
Yeah, we're hearing he could play. I think there's a lot of walk and wounded. I don't see the point of, as much as Jamie Smith probably fits the role for that number 7 spot we talked about in the last podcast, as possible wicketkeeper batter. I don't see the point of if he's not quite right, because I don't think he was quite right when he played. When he got injured, he kept wicket, didn't he? Salt was normally Salt would have been in the field, but they decided that Jamie Smith was going to keep wicket to protect him from the running around, and I think he walked off after about 5 or 6 overs. So obviously there's something there. I would imagine they'll want to keep that for the Champions Trophy. I wonder if Tom Banton is here as cover for Jamie Smith as well. So with a view that when we get to the Champions Trophy, if your mind is set to play Jamie Smith from the start in the first game, or he doesn't quite recover, then you've got the ideal replacement in the ranks. Bang, Tom Banton replaces. So I wonder if Tom Banton's here to replace Jamie Smith, and we might see a further replacement down the line for that spinning all-rounder, because it doesn't make sense that Jacob Bethell is replaced by Tom Banton, but he is here. I think he's playing golf today. But when people look and think, well, England aren't practicing today, he's played a lot of cricket in recent times, so and fair enough, he's coming from the UK. He might play tomorrow, and I hope he goes well, because I've mentioned twice now the struggles he's had with disillusionment in the game for himself, and he's overcome that, and he's come out stronger at the other side. So good for him on that. But he might play tomorrow. I don't think Bryden Carter's going to play tomorrow. I've seen Bryden in the gym before, and I mean, he showed me his feet, and I mean, his feet are. I mean, as a fast bowler, the worst injury you could possibly have is your toes, because you're landing every ball. It is horrendous. So
we would never. They're X-rated. We would never show you them.
They are very much X-rated. So I would imagine he won't. I can't imagine Bryden being risked either, because I think they're trying to heal them. So England are down to the bare bones. Do they give Rian Ahmed a game? Who's not in the Champions Trophy squad, who potentially could be in the Champions squad if Jamie Smith doesn't get fit, because it would make sense if Jamie Smith's not fit that Tom Banton replaces Smith and Rian Ahmed replaces Jacob Bethell. He's not like for like, but I think England are short going into 2 games in Lahore, 1 game in Rawalpindi, of a backup spin bowler of probably more of a spin bowler than a batter, rather than a batter that can bowl spin. I think Adil Rashid needs help from more of a frontline spin bowler. And in Test cricket over the course of the last 18 months, Rian Ahmed's been England's go-to second or third spinner from a frontline spin bowler out here and in Pakistan. So these will be the conundrums that's going through the selection of England come tomorrow, because England could do a winning. They could do a winning. Just a little bit of confidence boosting. Chetan's already said last night that he thinks India might make changes. Yeah. So if India make changes, that makes England a little bit more stronger. So from that point of view, England could do a winning, because they're coming out here playing 8 games and only winning once. That's not really as much as Ben Duckett's saying. And I don't think he meant it the way it sounded.
He said if they win the Champions Trophy, losing here would be justified. That was the wrong word.
No, I don't think he meant that. I don't think he meant it to sound like that. Yeah. But I think they need to win to just change the sort of course of the momentum, to go into their favour, to go into the Champions Trophy. And I think if they do that, but at this minute in time, it's like, I mean, Brendan McCullum could be looking around the room tomorrow and going, "Are you fit? You're playing. Are you fit? You're playing. You're not fit. You're not fit." I mean, it could be as simple.
Sounds like you've been in the changing room.
I've been in a changing room a couple of times like that, but it could be.
Are you fit? Are you fit to play?
I have not been, Jets. I've not been fit to play for about 15 years, to be honest. In 5 of them, I was contracted to play. So yeah, I would definitely say I am not fit. But look, tomorrow morning it'll be interesting to see. It'll be intriguing to see the team when Jos Buttler tosses the coin, along with Rohit Sharma, because what you think India are going to look like. I'll be intrigued to see what England will look like.
Just very quickly, when you were running through the possibilities of the reserves coming in and you were naming them all, it was embarrassing to think of them as reserves. It's just a ridiculously strong squad.
Yeah, and which is what I want to say. I mean, again, I don't want to rub it in, but you saying that if India make those changes to bring their second choice 11 players in, that would help England become stronger. On paper, yes, but when the likes of Rishabh Pant and Yashasvi Jaiswal and Arshdeep Singh come into the 11. Washington Sundar probably. So yeah, India are not going to get any weaker. I think the only advantage England might have tomorrow is if India go in with a five bowler attack, which I think they should, because they have to take Jasprit Bumrah to the Champions Trophy. We discussed that yesterday. There is no doubt about it. And we are expecting an official word from the BCCI on Jasprit Bumrah today evening. That is February 11 today. So we're expecting official word on him. I think he will be in the squad, and then, as Hami suggested, they'll probably make a late change if he's not able to play in the latter stages of the tournament. But now, because you're taking Jasprit Bumrah there, who's already under an injury cloud, and then you have Arshdeep and Mohammad Shami and Hardik Pandya, I don't want Hardik Pandya to play tomorrow. And perhaps not even Mohammad Shami. Bring in Arshdeep. Instead of Hardik Pandya, you can play Washington Sundar, give him a game, or you bring in Rishabh Pant. You only play with 5 bowlers. Why? Because KL Rahul hasn't had a hit, or I mean, he's been given opportunities to have a hit, but he's not used them. But you also want Rishabh Pant to have some deliveries under his belt. So I think India would want to bring in Rishabh Pant, but also play KL Rahul. Maybe give Washington Sundar a game in place of Ravindra Jadeja, perhaps. Not play Hardik Pandya, bring in Arshdeep Singh, and maybe, just maybe, bring in Yashasvi Jaiswal if they can. But I don't see who at the top order would want to rest. Virat Kohli needs game time. Rohit Sharma wouldn't want to rest, as Harmy outlined yesterday. Shubman Gill perhaps goes out again for just one game, maybe. So maybe 3 changes for India and a different formula in terms of the bowling. 5 bowlers might give England a bit of an advantage or a bit of a positive, but again, in India, even in that avatar, will be too strong for England.
Right, time to hear from Mark Wood. He was chatting to the great man, our producer Scott Taylor, a little bit earlier on.
So Mark, good to see you. We're ahead of the 3rd ODI. How do you reflect on the tour so far? You've played 5 games. How are you feeling personally?
I personally feel okay. I think the tour in general has been obviously challenging. We've not won many games, but it's been some great learning experiences. I mean, this isn't the end game. The end game is obviously the Champions Trophy. We've played one of the best teams in their own conditions, and yes, we have been second, but we've got to learn from what they do well and not take this with us when we go there to that tournament. It's a completely fresh tournament, so when we go there, hopefully from this experience it'll do us good.
Yeah, does it help the squad that the games are so thick and fast that you don't really have time to process the defeat, and therefore confidence doesn't really get dented too much?
I wouldn't say that we don't process it, because we review the games ourselves and have a chat about things. I think it's just trying to have a bit of perspective, where India are with their cricket, the depth they've got, and this one-day team in particular, they've got some superstars in that team. We've got some players who are a bit older, myself, Joss, Ruti, Adil Rashid, and then we've got some lads who are literally just starting. So we're under a new coach. We're trying to get used to that style of play. And like I said, not many teams beat India in their own conditions. Even that World Cup winning team of 2019, we didn't always win here. This is a very tough place to come, and we're getting used to conditions, what's worked with the team, what hasn't worked, leading into Pakistan.
Yeah, Ben Duckett said yesterday that a 3-0 series defeat will be justified if you go on and win the Champions Trophy. So how much of a learning curve has this been, particularly for the, as you say, the younger guys in this squad, that you're playing India in India?
Yeah, and again, we're trying to learn as we go on. We could learn from India. We'll learn about the pitches and the conditions, because some of them might be very similar to what we can expect. I would say the camaraderie within the group has been really good. We've had, although you're losing, you might think that the chips are down. Actually, the lads have been. We felt like there's been still a good togetherness. The messaging's been very clear from the coaches. I think learning from the test stuff, I knew when Baz came in that when you win games, it's not too high. When you lose games, it's not too low, and trying to keep that sort of level, headed mindset. And I think that's what it has been. Again, no one likes getting beat. I'll realize it's not like, oh yeah, we've been losing. Like, we don't like losing, but we're international sportsmen, we're competitive, we love playing for England. But again, the bigger picture is, we're trying to set up a style of play to help us win the Champions Trophy.
So sort of short-term pain for long-term gain in that.
I hope so. Yeah. I mean, I hope not just constant pain, but that would be ideal. That yes, we're not winning games, and we are trying to win games. It's not like we're just going into this willy-nilly and just saying, oh, whatever happens, happens. Look, we have tactics, we're trying to win, but sometimes, like the other night, Rohit Sharma played brilliantly and India deserved to win, and that's been the case most of the tour. India have outplayed us. Sometimes you have to admit that and just say, well played.
Without trying to compare and contrast from Baz to Matthew Mott, how much does it help you that you've got one coach for all formats? So whether you're at Test format, ODI format, the messaging, the continuity's there.
Obviously, it helps having a consistent message throughout each group, and you can see the lads that have been in the Test stuff know this messaging, know how he works. But I wouldn't say that's a slight on Matthew Mott either. I think he was a good coach and someone that he had a split in the two camps in terms of, like, obviously you have a Test coach and a one-day coach, but I just think that maybe there were certain things that didn't work in the one-day group, but I don't think that was entirely the coach's fault. I think it does help, now that we've got Baz, we've got that consistent message, and lads that have had him before can reiterate that to the rest of the group and understand it quicker, and it helps the coach get up to speed. But I wouldn't say it was like going forward, if that was to happen again, I would go, oh no, we can't have like two different coaches, because I still think Modi did a great job. We won a World Cup with Modi as well.
And just on yourself, you've had, as I say, 5 games on this tour so far. Does it help that you're not really having much time to practice? You just play, recover, especially as you're coming back from that injury?
Yeah, someone in the group mentioned that I was a bit like Ledley King. I don't train anymore, I just play the matches. I mean, it's good that in the mornings of the game, like when we get the ground, I mean, people might not see, but you can actually spend half an hour, getting up to speed, like you get your body loose and warm to bowl. You can practice a few things, a couple of slow balls, a Yorker. So actually you're getting, I guess, a little bit of training and a feel of things, but you're playing that much that almost you're staying on the belt of, I know you're trying to adapt during each game, and each game's different, but you're staying on the belt of constantly playing, so you're constantly bowling and getting your body up to speed. And like you mentioned before, with the Champions Trophy coming up, we're not jumping time zones very much. We're going to expect maybe similar conditions, so by playing, almost getting used to it from that point of view.
And how have you dealt with, I know you've had quite a lot of injuries in the past, but as you get older, how's that affected you sort of mentally when you came off against Sri Lanka? Do you feel like the older you get, the one more injury and you're done, that sort of stuff? Or?
Well, that definitely goes through your mind, but I think you try and just blank that out, and you miss it more when you're not here. Like when I was back at home and you're training by yourself, like you miss being part of the group. You're desperately trying to get back. You know how good it is. I love playing for England, proud to play for England, so you just want it so much more. And I've been through that. People might say, like, I'm injured, but it's not my fault. Like, I try and do the right things. I train hard. I try and look after myself. So, I'm trying to put as much effort in when I bowl. I mean, I hit the floor every other ball, so trying to put that effort in. It's just sometimes these things happen, and I'll be trying to stop as much as I can and trying to play as much as I can. Obviously, I'm not going to play every game, like we said, with my injury record. So it's just trying to, when I get that chance, really give it everything I've got, and whatever happens.
And just how pleasing is it as a bowling unit that you've got yourself, Joff, Bryden Castle, fit and firing at the same time? It's pretty exciting to watch.
Yeah, I think from a media and a fan's point of view, like everyone always comments to say that, like we've got a lot of pace coming through. I think at one point, people were saying, we need a pace bowler, and now we've got like a few, so that's really exciting. But at the same time, we as a pace bowling group, we want to win games. So we're hoping that when we get to Pakistan, if Joffrey can win us one game, if I can contribute to a key wicket one game, if Bryden can win us one game, if Gus, if all these guys, if we can, with the ball, if we can get a key wicket or change the game, then we know that we're doing our job for the rest of the team. We've got someone like, Adil Rashid with the spin, who, we know that he's probably, one of the best in the world. So as long as we can do it as a collective and help each other at the other end, work together in a partnership. I wish Rash would slow down a little bit when he's bowling. I'm knackered every time I bowl with him, but apart from that, things are pretty good.
And how's it been adjusting back to the ODIs? Because it's a format that you don't play often. You don't play domestically in England because of the hundreds. It must take a while going from those 4 over bursts and then suddenly having to do 10.
Yeah, I think it's about trying to be a bit more consistent for longer. Your length might change. Like in T20, you try and slow balls, Yorkers, bouncer, like different lengths all the time to try and stay on top of the batsman. In 50 overs, it's, I guess, a little bit more. I mean, you still have those variations, but you stick at things for longer. And I wouldn't say you forget how to bowl overnight. Like, it's not like, I've gone to 50 over and everyone goes, 50 overs, like, what do we do? I think, as top sportsmen, I think if you're looking for that excuse of, we've not played 50 overs, you're playing for England, you've got to find a way. Unfortunately, we haven't done that as much as we'd like this tour. But like I say, hopefully when we get to Pakistan, we've worked it out a little bit by then.
Just a couple more. Man, very well, Bryden Castle, you would have probably seen him come through at Durham. He's had a stellar winter so far. How impressive has he been? Not with bat and ball as well. Yeah,
great. He's a great athlete, isn't he? I mean, he fields well. You can see when he charges in, and with the bat, you can give it a smash as well. So I think across all three facets of the game, that's what you look for in a good cricketer, don't you? If you can bat, ball and field, you're a pretty good cricketer, and he can do all of it. So great to see him come through, obviously at Durham and then now with England. I actually think with England and playing less cricket, obviously county cricket you play sort of every other day and it's a big long season. I think international cricket probably suits Bryden more in the fact that he can keep his pace high all the time. He can keep his body a little bit fresher. Of course, there's its challenges with playing in India on flatter wickets and smaller grounds, but he's stepped up and been really, really good.
And 10 years for you as an international cricketer. How do you look back on that last decade?
It's 10 years, but I reckon with injuries it's probably 3 altogether. If you did me time, it's probably 3. Look, some fantastic memories, playing some great teams with some of the best players England has produced, and that's why I feel very fortunate to say that I've played with these players. And hopefully there's a couple of years left. I mean, couple as in actually playing, and hopefully can achieve some things as a team and personally as well.
And I know you've got your own podcast. Listeners to your podcast would know the influence Chris Wokes has on you. Chris Wokes isn't in the squad. He's not in the Champions Trophy squad. You've got 8 venues. That means 8 different flights. How have you dealt personally without Chris Wokes?
Yeah, Wokes is my flight buddy. He's the one that tends to look after me. Well, actually, I've had Mark Saxby, who's the sort of masseur. He's the guy who does everything around the group. He's the real glue of the group. He's been tasked with looking after me. The only problem is he's a little bit older in the group. He's not a young pup, which means that within 10 minutes of the flight he's always asleep. So that's not really great for my anxiety. But Wokesy is always the guy that would, not just with the flights but around the hotel, restaurants and stuff. He'd always take the mick out of me for being pretty bland. And I texted him the other night that I've been taking on the local cuisine as well. So he's like a proud dad at the minute. But yeah, missing Wokesy, and hopefully I'll get back with him during the summer.
And just finally, how grateful are you? The Champions Trophy ends on the 9th of March. The Carabao Cup final has been moved from last year. It was late Feb. It's now the 16th of March. Will you get the chance to go to Wembley?
I think the person that's probably most pleased is Harmy. I think he's the one that I seen him in the commentary box the other day with his Newcastle shirt on. I mean, that is a proud supporter. So the only thing you've got him to do now is maybe sing a song on commentary, and then I think he's fully all in. But yeah, obviously great for the area that Newcastle's in a cup final. And I'm sure there'll be plenty of people watching, not just in the northeast, but like you say, around the world as well.
Challenge accepted for Harmy. We'll see what we can do.
Nice one.
It's Mark Wood having a gentle dig at Harmy and his Newcastle shirt. You got a Premiership team?
Yes. Should I say it out loud?
Yes.
Manchester United.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean they've not been doing well for a while, haven't they? But I thought it was an abomination when they let Jose Mourinho go, and it's been all downhill since then.
Do you know that Ahmedabad is known as the Manchester of India because of the textile industry?
I was going to say, I can't because of the rain that we have here. Everywhere you go with swimming pool. I mean, the architecture is not great either, because the swimming pool, none of the swimming pools are in daylight.
They're all in the shade. They're all designed to be in the shade.
Everything's in the shade. So yeah, it's not for the rain, I don't think, coming to Ahmedabad.
It's the textile industry.
Yes, and it's a big commercial hub. They're bringing the bullet train. I told you yesterday in the cab drive, they're going to have stops across Surat and Vadodara, if I'm not mistaken. So it's a big commercial hub. They're bringing it up really well, and fingers crossed that bullet train will come up along very quickly.
The railway line between was one of the first established between Mumbai and Ahmedabad, 1868.
Yep. So you can just see the importance of this
and it
commercial
took 36
hub.
hours.
Yeah, and I think it's the bullet train.
Take 3 hours.
3 hours, yes.
That sounds like some of the trains in the northeast of England sometimes. I mean, there's a couple of times. I think, was it the India series last year? It took me 12 hours to get from London to Newcastle. So yeah, it could be something similar to
a couple of snowflakes on the track, and it's a 3-hour delay,
or a heavy wind, and it's that. So not quite 36 hours, but. No, it is a wonderful city. I can't wait. I've not been to this new ground. I'm looking forward to it. It's the one where Donald Trump spoke at the last time he was president. So, I mean, I'm really looking forward to seeing what the stadium is, the grandeur of it, and also a good game of cricket. One that I think England, because of the first game and then the second game, they've got better. If somebody goes in tomorrow and goes and grabs it and gets 100, even if they get beat, England goes and grabs it, gets 100, and puts up another good fight, then I think England can go into the Champions Trophy with some level of confidence. Because in tournament play, like we've said many times, tournament play, it's one thing to get out of the group. When you get into a knockout game, it just takes one bit of brilliance. It takes one bit of brilliance, because you could have the best tournament you could have, and you could come up against a Rohit Sharma type innings that he had the other night, and you've lost.
Or Travis Head type of innings.
Travis Head type of innings, if you know what I mean. So England have got to hold that as their is their inline going into this tournament. Somebody tomorrow goes in that top 6, gets 100. The rest of them back them up. They get a decent score. Whatever happens after that happens. But they go into a world event tournament having played 3 games and got better in each one.
The Narendra Modi Stadium was opened at the Namaste Trump rally. Do you remember how he pronounced Sachin Tendulkar?
Suchin, wasn't it?
Sushin Tendul, something like that. I can't imitate it.
Tendulkar.
Yes.
You were trying to get me to say something the other day, wasn't it?
He also talked about Virat Kohli. I can't remember what he said, but yeah, he took those 2 names. So yeah, it was a big event. And then we had the Australian Prime Minister during the India-Australia Test match there as well. And of course, the Prime Minister was there for the World Cup trophy presentation himself. So yeah.
Lots to look forward to then.
I'm just before we start. I'm going to get my Newcastle shirt. I'm going to try and hire a karaoke machine. I'm going to go and stand outside Mark Wood's room and sing for the next 2 hours to keep
Rhinestone Cowboy.
Rhinestone Cowboy. That'll do me.
We see you all tomorrow. Every ball live and exclusive on talkSPORT 2, and of course on the talkSPORT Cricket YouTube channel. See you tomorrow.